Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing around with my altered portraits book for my 100 days project. I'm going to be showing you how I've altered this image. So I had this guy just sitting on the pavement and I thought, "Well, what could he be doing?" I wanted to just make it a little bit more whimsical because obviously in the mood for whimsy this day. So I'm starting out by painting out the background. Now I started in immediately with blue paint because I wasn't thinking very well at that stage, and I needed to get my gesso or my white paint out and just sort of paint out that background and then start again. So I'm then going back in with the blue, and you can see it's a whole heap more successful, funnily enough. So you can see I've just cut into my paint pot there. So if you find that you do not have much paint coming out of your um, tubes anymore, I'd highly suggest you actually cut into them because you'd be surprised by how much paint you have got left in your bottles and your tubes after they supposedly run out. So while I was doing this, I never really have an idea before I do these. It's sort of, they're a work in progress, but because I'd given him a very definite horizon that he was sitting on, or a ground that he was sitting on, I thought, well, let's go with that. So I've got the sky above, he's sitting on the edge of something, it's going to be grass underneath him. So I went in and painted in my grass. And as I was doing that, I was like, well, why would he be sitting there? What's he doing? So while I'm doing sort of altered portraits like this, I really sort of like to come up with a backstory for them, I suppose. What they're going to be doing next? What is a reason for them sitting there? Because I am a chronic overthinker, and it takes me a while to get to these things, I like to keep my hands moving. So to do that, I just grab out my paint pens and start colouring in. So first of all, I'm just blocking in all the colours, making it nice and bright. Basically, it's a fun way just to use colours you don't tend to use very often, um, except pink and turquoise. I tend to use an awful lot when it comes to my collages, but these are the rules. I'm also going in and putting a black line around it. So that just helps me sort of see where the edges are, what's socks, what's, clothing, what's shadow, and work out what I'm actually doing. So I thought he had Louis Vuitton. Is it Louis Vuitton? No. You know those posh shoes that have the red soles? I have no idea what they're called. Never owned a pair, probably never going to own a pair in my life, but he's got a pair, so that's nice. Um, and then I'm going in and putting just a little bit of patterning in. So with his coat, he's got some bubbles because I quite like putting sort of bubbles and lines on my coats. I usually outline them so they sort of stand out. And quite often, if you look at all my collages, I'm using fairly simple shapes and patterns within them because I'm lazy and it's easy. It's usually the way. I've then just gone back and fixed up his hat. So I have extended his hat out a little bit, made it bigger on top. Because I had the orange on his coat, I've decided he's going to have orange shoes. I did paint them white to begin with because I wasn't 100% sure what colour, but what I really do like doing on all my pages, not just my collages, is have sort of that repetition of colour somewhere on the page. So you can see I've got the orange on the dot, so I've got orange on the hat, orange on the shoes, and orange on his collar. Then I decided, well, why is he sitting there like that? So he's going to be a balloon seller. So I decided I was just going to create a whole heap of balloons. He could be holding a bunch of balloons. I was obviously going through my Mary Poppins stage. Everyone just needed to have a bunch of balloons in their life. But again, they're really easy shapes to draw. So it's low pressure. I don't have to think about it too much. I'm not drawing something incredibly detailed. It really is just overlapping shapes and seeing what happens. So once I've drawn them all out, I'm again going to go around with my black pen, outline them all, make them look like they belong, and then draw in all the strings as well and put a little bow on each of my balloon ends. Never actually seen balloons sold like that, but you know, one day. Once I put my little shine, I suppose, on my balloons, then I'm going in and adding some extra details over his body. So I love putting those little dashes in my dots just to make them look pretty. I then decided we needed some clouds. So, because I'm lazy again, I couldn't bother getting out my white paint. I had my white Posca pen there, so I just used that over the top, which I really, really loved the effect. And it was really easy. And again, gives you something quite cartoony, quite two-dimensional, Simpsons-like, I suppose, in the background. And, you know, just blends in, I suppose, the whimsy of the piece. You can see with my lines, I'm not being very exact. They're a bit scratchy, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then going in, he's got teal coloured hair, because why not? And then I decided I was going to write a quote. So I wanted to write in "Live a life of whimsy." Now, this is the reason I really love using paint pens in my work over acrylic paint, because you saw I started to write the whimsy out and I made it too small. I need to fill in the page. So I could do that with my um, wet wipe, which you can see me doing there as well. If you've made a mistake, you can wipe it away and redraw it over. Obviously, when it's dry, it is permanent, so you do need to work fairly quickly, but it just gives me that little bit of extra grace, I suppose, if I make mistakes. So once I've finished writing out my text, then I'm going in with my grey alcohol marker just to give a shadow, and then I'm outlining my letters in white. Now, usually if you see me doing this, I do it in black and do the alternate, but with this I think it just needed that dark colour on the bottom and a bit of extra oomph to it. So really, really simple. Not much to it. I love creating those little stories that go behind it, like who is this guy who's selling the balloons? Why is he selling the balloons? What's happening here that gives him so much whimsy in his life? And you can sort of create these little lovely little stories about the artwork you've created. Usually after you've created it, but that's okay too. But it's enough to keep me entertained when I'm working through the night. So I hope it inspires you too. Until next time, bye for now.